right, good day, folks. My name is Gervonte Fowler. Today I'll be presenting Rainy Day version 2. So this builds on the last demo that I did a few months ago now. But before we dive into it, I wanted to give a bit more structure to this video. So first dive into a bit of an introduction. As I mentioned, my name is Gervonte Fowler. I'm a software engineer from the Bahamas, Nassau to be exact. And I have a few years experience working at a startup. I worked at a company called Nova Credit for about 2 years. From there, I went back to the Bahamas and I left again to get my master's. And since completing my master's, I've since started this company to create this product. So with that being said, what is Rainy Day? Now, Rainy Day is, in its current state, the start of a personal finance management platform built for the Bahamas specifically. What that means in practice is that the institutions that are present in America and Canada, United Kingdom, these other places, they have access to Plaid, which for those that are unaware, Plaid is what is used to connect your accounts to these institutions. Now, the thing is, Plaid does not reach the Caribbean, which the Bahamas is a part of. And so I decided to take it upon myself to sort of fill in the coverage gap there. So in its current state, we have support for CIBC Caribbean. I'm going to have to move myself out of here. CIBC Caribbean, Scotiabank Caribbean, Bank of the Bahamas, and Teachers Credit Union. So as I mentioned before, Plaid does cover banks like CIBC and Scotiabank, but not the Caribbean versions. So in the Bahamas and in, a lot of the Caribbean, we have some of those larger banks that are Canadian banks. But these are the Caribbean branches of the Canadian banks. So the way that Rainy Day works, as shown in the last video that I did, is that you upload a statement that is provided by the bank, and we parse that statement and we turn it into basically the driving force for this app. So for those that are following along with this build series, what changed since version 1? So since version 1, we actually have a wonderful change log over here to help us explain that change. So we can see version 1 was the foundational layer, where we actually, did the first secure upload, normalized data. And, we started to be able to turn that statement into a working app, or at least a platform for an app. As I open up this full change log, we can see more into that. So that's where we kind of got this basic experience. Now, we start off just by being able to support CIBC Caribbean, which is, I called First Caribbean in the last video. I've since learned that the name has been updated. It is actually called CIBC Caribbean now. So moving on to the second version, which is the one I'll be showing off today. We, as I mentioned, support CIBC Caribbean, Scotiabank Caribbean, Bank of the Bahamas, and the Teachers Credit Union. So what else changed in this version 2? So I'll just read it off before I actually get into the demo. So this version adds the first review and planning layer on top of what we had previously. So we now have what the app found, what the user accepted, and what we can estimate from the trusted activity. So we have this wonderful new review page, which I'll get to when I get to the demo, which is a dedicated place to confirm what the app noticed before it updates the summaries. It has category suggestions, recurring bills, income patterns, and other uncertain items explained and controlled by the user, of course. So then we have the forecast, which is, kind of funny how the naming works, Rainy Day forecast. But it's basically a forward-looking space for you to plan and see what comes in, what goes out, and where you may need to pay attention to. So it brings together things like the regular and irregular income, upcoming bills, usual spending, and accepted activity, or from the accepted activity, sorry. What I also added since last time was a public demo, which I will show in this video as well. But that public demo is set up with 2 profiles of fictional data to show how the app works, so persons can get a feel for it without actually having to use their data. And then we have this greeting at the top. This is the time we are greeting. Right now it is 5 p.m. So the greeting says good evening. And once again, when I get to the demo and the walkthrough, we'll see more about how that works. We also have an inactivity reminder. So that's just to keep your data safe. It logs you out after a while of inactivity. And this is just, some of the stuff that I mentioned. The change log that we're looking at right now, the more statement support. So if you want to look at that, you can check out the demo, which will be linked in the description of this video. All right, so let's go through with the demo or the walkthrough part of it. So as mentioned, we support a few different new accounts now. So I'll show some of the nuances that come with the different institutions that we added, at least in its current state. So we can see that we have Bank of the Bahamas in here. And these are just some of the things that help us to normalize it all. So let's just call this one rainy day savings. We'll create that account. The Bank of the Bahamas exports do not normally show an account number. So you kind of have to name it in its current state. With Teachers Credit Union, we have these PDFs in here. We can go ahead and add those accounts. Then we have CIBC Caribbean. That is the one I started off with, but as mentioned, we now accept the PDFs as well as the CSV. Now, this is another one of those nuances with the new institutions. So with Teachers Credit Union, the CSV files do not include an account number. So you have to match it up to the account based on the PDF. So that's how it works in this current state. So we'll add that one there, and then we'll add this one to the next account. Okay. So now we have all those transactions imported. Let me just make sure that we're looking at all of the data. All right, so if you've seen the last video, you can see that there's some new stuff going on here. As mentioned, we have a few different updates. The first probably noticeable thing is this at-a-glance card. Actually zoom this in and make sure it's clear. So what at-a-glance does is it connects to the forecast page and it brings you sort of some of the details that you need to know, I guess, at a glance. Kind of keeping with the whole idea that checking your finances should be as easy as checking the weather. So we can see the first thing that it lets us know is that if we add more categories, our forecast will be more sharp. It shows how Rainy Day has already helped organize this period. 7 of the transactions were automatically sorted and confirmed from suggestions. So we haven't actually confirmed any suggestions yet. So those are just the ones that are automatically sorted. That's things like this vacation club fee. We can see the fee right down here. And we can see that 0.3% of it has been sorted. That's with our fees right now. And we can also see just at a glance what our next 30 days are looking like. Now, this number is not accurate just yet because we haven't actually checked out the review page. But this is what it's looking like based on what we just added in. So now the review page, as this card mentions as well, categorizing more can help sharpen the forecast. So let's just go over to the review page. So if you notice up here, we have this little indicator that says, hey, there's some items ready for review. So there's some items that have been suggested to be categorized and some expected charges that were noticed by Rainy Day. So this is all a part of that deterministic intelligence that is part of version 2. So we get over to this page, the review page. All right, so we have this dividend credit. It looks like income. That is income, but that's definitely on the salary. So I'll categorize that as other income and apply that. We have this share transfer, online transfer credit, payroll deposit, super value. So these are just the categories that Rainy Day has noticed, and it thinks that we should categorize it as based on some of our deterministic rules. And so what I can say is that the online transfer credit for Raina is actually a transfer. So what that transfer means is that this should not be counted as an additional income because that would be how you double count it. So we categorize that as a transfer. Now, we also have the payroll deposit, which is Raina's salary. Now, as mentioned, or as you can see when you check out the public demo, or when I get to that part of the video, Raina is a customs officer. But what that really means for those that aren't from the Bahamas is that she gets paid a standard salary. Super Value is a grocery store, so that is definitely groceries. This share transfer, what I'll skip that one, right? So cool. Now we have some expected charges. ATM withdrawal fee. I'd say that's probably not recurring. You probably don't expect to have that out of schedule. Family Guardian, BPL, and rent, water and sewage, cable Bahamas. These all sound like bills that do come up. So what I'll do is just accept all of them. So we don't have to actually go through and go and confirm them one by one. Now we have some income and payday patterns. This part is useful for just kind of being aware of, your next payday and those kinds of things. So this dividend credit, I'll skip that one for now. And then the payroll deposit, I'll confirm it as a payday. So now we've cleared through the review. So what that means now is that we can have a better forecast than we did before. So when we first loaded up the app, we noticed how the forecast told us, or the at-a-glance card told us that we should categorize more things so that we should have a more clear forecast. But let's look actually directly at the forecast. So this is the rainy day forecast. But anyway, what that means is that we can kind of see the next 30 days based on our accepted data up to this point. So based on the last statement, the latest date, we kind of do a 30-day forward projection. Raina is expected to make $2,700 in that time period, and our expected expenses are pretty high there. But if we look at it, we have wait a minute. I think that share transfer actually. Yeah. So the thing is, that share transfer, that's important. We should actually categorize that properly because it's saying right now that Raina is going to be in the negative, but she's not actually spending this money. So that's one of those things that, let me move my camera real quick, that we need to be cognizant of, but that's what goes into actually managing your money properly. So I had a share transfer there, and as you see, as I added that category, all of the ones that were similar from that account were categorized as well as transfer. So that's just one of the new features that we added. So all of these share transfers, what I'm going to do is categorize those as transfers so that we have a better idea of the actual money in and money out, but not including transfers. So with these as well, let me just categorize them as transfers. All right, cool. So now let's go back to the forecast page and let's get a better idea of what we actually spend and what we actually make. So now we can see, okay, cool. Raina brings in $26.53 and she spends between $17.35 and $17.99. Now, where does that spending number come from? That comes from things like fees. Some of it is still uncategorized, and groceries. So let's go over to the overview again. All right, so at a glance, our next bill is rent, which is expected on the 4th of July. We have phone bills coming up as well. Let's see what else we have now. We have $1,500 in upcoming bills in the next 30 days, which is rent, cable Bahamas internet, BPL power bill, and 2 more upcoming bills. This is still a little bit that's uncategorized, and that will, of course, make the forecast more sharp. We can go ahead and see how Rainy Day has helped us organize this period. So now we have this number changed to 56. 56 transactions were automatically sorted and confirmed from suggestions. And we can see the next 30 days. So these are just kind of like, the at a glance things you probably want to be aware of your money. We can see over here in our upgraded category display, we can see that there's quite a bit of uncategorized transactions. And this is from January 1st to June 25th. Groceries is the highest that we have categorized right now. And we got fees in here as well. Income is primarily salary because that's how Raina gets paid. And we have other income, which is that dividend credit that we had categorized before. So with that being said, that's kind of a walkthrough of what the app is like right now. The way that I think of it all, we have these management pages, which can allow you to manage your transactions, categories, statements, and accounts. These were all part of the first demo, and these are all modeled after the spreadsheet because I feel like that's the like a normal way to deal with this kind of data, right? Most people probably have used Excel to manage their data before. So these are all kind of modeled in that way. As you can see how they all look and how they all work. And then we have statements right here, which line up with the imports that we have. We can see all of the different statements from all the different institutions. And we can see the accounts that are gathered from those statements. So that's it for right now for the latest walkthrough. So once again, we have the overview page, which is informational. The way I think of it is overview is informational, review is informational, forecast is informational, and then all of the management pages are to sort of manage the data. So you do have some data management in the review page as you sort of confirm the patterns, but those are based on the raw data that's present in these management pages. So with that being said, let me go ahead and show the public demo. So we switch over from this website to demo. All right, so the public demo, this is actually available for you to try if you would like to. This demo is meant for me to sort of get users used to the look and feel of the app. Right now, the data in the app is not changeable or mutatable because it's not really meant to help persons upload it. But this is available for everyone to get a look and feel or get an idea of the look and feel of the app and also submit feedback. So this is powered by PostHog, which I can get into after I show this demo. But so this is what I have been mentioning before. We have two fictional profiles. We have Ray, who's a barber, gets paid in cash, card payments, transfers, and deposits to his account. He uses rainy day to see what came in, what ran out, and what spending belongs to work or everyday life. He has Scotiabank Caribbean, CIBC Caribbean, cash. We also have Raina, who's a customs officer, which for non-Bahamian folks, that just means salary. So steady schedule of payments, Teachers Credit Union, Bank of the Bahamas, CIBC Caribbean, cash. So the demo that I did was using the some of the data from Raina, but let me just show you what the public demo looks like. All right, so Ray, this is what it looks like when it's more, I guess, populated and more categorized and everything. So we can see Ray spends a lot of his money on rent, and he makes most of his money from being a barber. We can see his next rent payment is on July 5th for $1,000. That is a lot of money. He has about $1,300 in upcoming bills coming in the next 30 days. Chair rental, rent payment, phone bill, He still has a very small amount of categories that's not transactions that aren't categorized yet. So just that 22 to 26 a month will make the forecast more sharp. And then how did rainy day help organize the period? 507 transactions were automatically sorted or confirmed for suggestions. Now in the next 30 days, Ray is expected to bring in $2,400 to $2,740 and spend between 2,200 to 2,400. So this is just the same stuff that we had just shown, but as you can tell, this is the demo profile. So when I say that this is a demo profile, I mean that the data cannot be changed. So you can't upload here, you can't change the time period, you can't look at what's in review, and you can't change it to dark mode, which I didn't show in the first video, but this was present before. So anyway, let's go through the review. You've already seen this in the walkthrough, but this is what the demo looks like. We see Bamboo Shack here is being automatically categorized as dining out, and it's being asked to confirm it. So that is actually a restaurant. So you know that is correct. This is just a breakdown of his categories in a spotlight. And then we can see some of his trusted patterns. So the rent payment, shop share rental, the phone bill. And we go over to the forecast and we can see what's going on. We can see what's going on for the next 30 days. Things like the bills coming up and expected income, expected expenses, upcoming bills, the usual spending, the paydays. So as we can see, Ray is a barber, so he doesn't have a standard payday like Rainer would have, but he does have irregular income, which is from being a barber. So I'll show how that transaction list looks. We can see those payments came through in cash, and Ray would have been able to track those manually, and it's able to be added to his insights and forecast in the same way that the statements or statement-powered institutions would be added. So real quick, what I'll do is go over to the Rainer profile. And what I'll do for this Rainer profile is show just, because another thing I didn't show in the first video is that this is actually also mobile responsive. Let me just open that real quick. All right, that is pretty small on the screen. Let me make that. Okay. All right, cool. We got an iPhone 14 Pro Max. All right, so I don't know how visible that is on a larger screen. However, I wonder if I can zoom in. All right, that doesn't help. Anyway, so this is just how it looks on mobile. Some folks have told me that they would like to see it on mobile, and it does work on mobile right now. This is the website, but it's responsive. It's a responsive app. So we're showing the menu here. This is sidebar. We can just you can see what's going on here. We can just minimize that real quick, so we can see what it looks like on mobile. So everything's still just the way that it works on desktop. It's just compact, and it shows you can swipe through these cards and see at a glance what's going on. Top categories, transactions, statements, accounts. All right. So with that being said, it is made primarily for the web. That's just kind of how I prefer to have developed it. For right now, I do have plans for making native mobile apps in the future, but I think having a good web experience first and foremost is priority. Let me just double check my notes. Oh, so one more thing that I'll show. 1 second. All right, so in addition to those updates that we listed, as mentioned in the changelog, we also now have observability behind the app. So for those that are unaware, observability is what takes it from a app to a product. Now, if you think of any business, a business needs certain metrics to be able to measure how the business is performing and is the business growing, etc. So what I have added to the Rainy Day platform is two things. One is Sentry, which is a monitoring platform for us to manage and collect errors. So we can see this looks very complicated, but what this basically shows is that we had to send a test error to make sure that the Sentry platform works. What this allows me to do is that if there's anything that goes wrong in production, I can see it from the screen here, see it from the feed, and go ahead and address it, make sure that the product is working properly. And as mentioned with this demo, we do have this feedback tab powered by PostHog. So I will show what that looks like behind the scenes, just for anybody that's interested and are not aware of these things. So this is PostHog. We have this feedback in here. This is just one part of what PostHog does for this app. But basically, this is someone that I sent a demo to. They filled out the survey already. And as we can see down here in the very small text, the bank that they would like for us to support is Fidelity. So in the next demo, or in one of the demos in the upcoming releases, hopefully Fidelity will be supported so that this user will be happy. So that's pretty much it for today. Thanks for watching. If you tuned in for this long, I appreciate you, and stay tuned for what comes next. Actually, I can talk a bit about what's coming next before I go. So with this being said, with this version, I'm kind of moving away from just the version numbers solely, because I think the version numbers may make it confusing as to how far I'm trying to take this thing before getting to a usable product. So what I call the first version was the prototype. This one is more of an alpha of a product. The next the next major release is more of a open beta, that's what I plan. So this product right here, I will be trying to get into the hands of a few users that I can sort of be close to and sort of see how it's being used and everything like that. Obviously, it's financial data, so that comes with some stipulations, but just like a sort of close internal testing group before I move on to the open beta, which would hopefully be the next one where I expand it. So just having that sort of internal testing group along with this demo would allow me to sort of shape the product as we go forward and actually build the experience for more people to actually use. So that's just what that's just what it's looking like right now. Like I said, I appreciate you for watching. If you stay tuned for this long, if you stay watching for this long. And yeah, that's it for today. I'll catch you later. Peace out.